Hey guys, just setting up TikTok here. We'll get started in just a minute. There we go. Get the camera set. We'll give everybody a few minutes to pop in. It's just now 2 o'clock. Everybody having a good day? What are we doing? We're just waiting, giving everybody a little bit of time to get in here. It's just after 2. There's always a few late ones. So. Hey, how we doing? We start in a few minutes here. You guys, thanks for stopping in. So, go ahead and get started. The topic today is about the successful business that's a prison, and the rule of thumb for a business. And there's always the debate for business owners as to whether you really own a business, or do you just own a job. And so the rule of thumb is, can you walk away from your business for 30 days and it still run without you, or will it fall apart? And the saying is, well, gee, if it falls apart without you, then you don't really have a business. You just own a job, which some would say, well, hey, that's better than working for somebody else. And, maybe you're still making better money and maybe you have more freedoms. But more often than not, owning your own job, you're going to have more headaches, and you're going to work more hours, and you're going to have more stress. So it's different. Myself, even with all the headaches and stress and hours, I would still rather work for myself. But the point being, how do you, if you don't pass that litmus test, if you can't walk away from your business for 30 days and it run without you, then you have to ask yourself, why? And I'm going to move this screen over here because I'm seeing that I'm looking the wrong way. Thanks for the likes. So we have to ask ourselves why, and how do you fix it? And that's what we're going to talk about today. And it's kind of fitting that the news piece I did this morning was about Starbucks. Starbucks did something that was very, very typical of what the kind of thing that most businesses do. They came out with a new app that allows people, before they come into the store, you can customize your order or place your order before you even get there. Well, that sounds great. This is a way to give more to your customer base, right? Who wouldn't love that? I mean, it's a great idea. Shoot whoever came up with the idea, because here's what you end up with. People walk into the store, they've ordered, they walk in the store, and there's a big line of people in front and drinks over there, baristas, all tripping over each other, and they realize they're going to be there for half an hour or more trying to get a drink. They turn around and walk out. They go somewhere else besides Starbucks. And this is happening a lot. Like, Starbucks is losing like $100 million over this great app idea. I mean, just mind-blowing. Because what Starbucks did was they said, hey, let's just throw a great idea out for our customers and then figure it out. And they're throwing all this money. Now they have to remodel the stores to try to figure out how to make the stores work to work this, to make this work, because now the orders come in so customized. Because think of it this way. If you walk in to get your drink, it didn't say coffee because people don't just drink coffee at Starbucks. They drink all kinds of stuff. If you walk in to get a drink, you walk in, it's like, I'll get a whatever, and you throw something out. You do have your regulars that they know exactly what they want, and so it's memorized. However, if given the option that, let's see, I think I'll do this, and let me add that, and let me add this, and let me add that. And it's all of your options are in front of you. And now you start customizing it. And now you're doing stuff that they never use because people never think about it. Options that, from the back corners, from the back shelves. It becomes a problem because those things take more time. And time is the issue. Last week, I talked about how Chick-fil-A realized that 10 seconds in their drive-thru ended up making them like 100. I forget now. 10 seconds was, I forget how many millions of dollars per location. They shaved 10 seconds off per car going through the drive-thru. Just, they couldn't figure out where the bottlenecks were in the drive-thru. So they put a drone up in the air to see it from above and look down from above. And by doing it that way, they were able to figure it out. And now Chick-fil-A's do 3 times the volume per location than any other fast food. Just because they analyzed it first. And, I did, it's not that hard. Any business that you look at, I've interviewed so many millionaires, and I can tell you that you are always one problem away from either great success or failure. And it's all in how you react to that problem. Pop, I don't know what you're doing there with this. This is AI stuff, but just stop. If you don't stop, I'm going to block it. Because you're distracting for everybody. Okay. So, I had a client that came to me as a real estate broker. He was stuck at $12 million, couldn't get past 12 million. And he thought, well, I'll just do more marketing. I mean, kind of like with Starbucks, they want to make more money, do more marketing, throw out another app. So he came after me, tried to do several meetings, and but he was so busy that he could never follow through on the meetings. So I said, listen, dude, if you don't want to meet, it's fine. He said, no, it's not that. I'm so busy. And he showed me, he literally had holes in the bottom of his shoes because he didn't have time to buy shoes. I'm like, man, if you don't have time to buy shoes, then I don't know that marketing is your issue. I said, do you need more leads? He's like, no. He said, I can't use the leads I got. I don't know how to use them all, but I'm stuck. So I spent 2 months with the guy, met with him in the morning once a week, working on his systems because obviously there were some problems. He said, yeah, I own a marketing firm. but I'm a consultant. I start businesses. I fix businesses. I'm about creating wealth. That's what I do. The next year, he did 20 million. The next year, 30 million. The next year, 50 million. Without spending more money on marketing, just by implementing new systems, how to use the marketing that he already had. But the big difference was in the future when I would see him, he was taking his kids fishing, he's taking them to Disney. That's true wealth. It's not just money, it's time. And, it had a bait shop that, when my dad and I first bought it, it was chaos. When you buy shrimp, they come in a bag of 1,000, just whatever the shrimpers catch. They count them out, and the size varies by the time of year, but you're buying by the 1,000. They weigh them out, and so they dump them in your tank. You're in, and the customers line up, especially on the weekends. It was crazy. We would have a line. The shop would be packed. Be a line out the door, down the street, and I'd have 5, 6 people in there, serving the customers. We're tripping over each other, and because the problem is they come in like that, and you'd have some people that I just need 3 dozen shrimp, and then you'd have people say, well, I want selects, and then people would say, well, I want hand picks, and some would say, well, I want jumbos, and some would say, well, I want mediums, and then some are going to be well, I want smalls. Everybody, you had so many different people that had their thing of what they wanted, that it just took so long that you couldn't. The customers are in there and they're so packed they couldn't even shop the rest of the store. All they could do was stay in line for the shrimp. That was it. They couldn't even buy the tackle and stuff because they couldn't even move. And you don't really make money on shrimp anyway. So I'm like, this is not going to work. It's not going to work. So, and everybody's interpretation of, a select, a hand pick, it's all different, so it's inconsistent. They come in and say select to one person, and the next week they say select to somebody else, and they're not getting the same stuff. So the customers are not all happy. So I said, all right, this is not going to work. So I came in early with one employee, which came in an hour early. And we emptied some of the tanks, and we just made sizes up. I had small, medium, large, and jumbo, 4 sizes, and set a price for each size. That was it. Put the prices up on the wall, and people came in. They're giving off a little bit. Nope, we have small, medium, large, and jumbo. What do you want? Oh. And they're in, they're out, they're in, they're out, they're in, they're in. They loved it. And because they were in and out fast, they were able to shop for other stuff. And I didn't have to have 5 or 6 people in there. We could do it with 1 or 2 people. Just had one person come in early to sort. And within 2 years, everybody was doing that because everybody realized that's the way to sell shrimp. And I mean, we made so much more money just by doing that. So, and I mean, you look at Richard Branson, he started Virgin Airlines. with no money, by the way. Okay. A lot of people forget that. Richard Branson started Virgin Airlines with no money. It was a problem. You're one problem away from either failure or success. He's flying down to meet his girlfriend in the Bahamas and gets stuck in an airport because they canceled the flight. It was a connecting flight. He's down there. They canceled the flight. And he's in the airport with a bunch of other people mad because there's no flight to the Bahamas now. So he's like, well, I want to go meet this girl, and I am not giving up. So he looks out the window, looks around, and he sees that there's some smaller planes out there that he can charter. So he calls, how much is it to charter a plane? How many seats? Does a little math, finds a piece, I forget if it was cardboard or what it was, but wrote down, flights to the Bahamas, wrote down how much it was, and, easily sold the tickets because he's got a room full of people that need to go to the Bahamas and don't have a flight to get there. So he filled up that flight to the Bahamas, paid for the flight, paid for his ticket, and they're asking, so what's the name of the airline? He goes, I don't know. I get Virgin Airlines, I guess, since it's my first flight. And so he just started an airline just because there was a problem. So he fixed the problem. He got home and he thought, well, that was pretty easy. Maybe I can do this on a larger scale. So he did. He figured out how to lease a 747 with no money down. And the same thing. He sold the tickets, and all the tickets were sold. So everything was paid for before that plane ever got off the ground. You just have to analyze things. So it doesn't matter what your business is. You can streamline it, you can fix it, and you can always make more money out of whatever it is that you're doing. You can always make more money out of what you're doing if you're willing to look at your systems. Because most people don't really have systems. And if they do, who put those systems in place in the first place? Most people just do stuff because that's the way it was always done. And they don't really think about it. And the systems make all the difference. All the difference. I don't really like the semantics around the guy, but Ray Kroc, most people think he started McDonald's. He didn't really start it. He kind of stole it. But he was under a very, very tight contract, franchising contract from the McDonald's brothers. And he was not making any money. And he figured out that if he bought the land under the McDonald's, if he controlled the land, he controlled everything. And that was how he took over McDonald's. And it was that move right there. More than half of all businesses fail in the first 5 years. 80% of all restaurants fail in the first 5 years. But less than 1% of McDonald's ever fail. Less than 1%. And that is because of the systems that Ray Kroc put in place. Predominantly, the real estate. That's the big part of it. And systems are everything. I'm telling you, they're everything. So that's why, I wanted to go over this today, because most people, when you own a business, you put your heart and soul into it. And it really can be heart-wrenching, because it's often a struggle. And yet there's nobody to help you. You're on your own. When you own a business, unless it's a franchise, you are on your own. And most small business owners don't have the systems support that you get with larger corporations, franchise operations. And so not only do they not know what is killing them, they don't even know where to look. So I'm just offering some help. Throwing a lifeline, so to speak. You don't have to struggle. If you can't, bottom line, if you can't walk away from your business for 30 days, call me. Let's fix it. Because if you can't walk away from your business, it doesn't mean that you have failed. It means that we need to fix some things. That's the bottom line. That's the bottom line. So, any questions, comments? Okay. Well, you guys have a fabulous day. I will see you next week. And let's see, next week is why your marketing plans are just expensive guesses. That'll be a fun one. All right. See you next week. Thanks for stopping.